Right. Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem B'Kakadash. And your Heavenly Father, true name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Ba'Hashem, in the name of Mashiach HaShai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo-Hebrew, the Lashon Rakadash tongue. And I said Barakathan to the elders and apostles, Ra'akim Wa'akwaf, and I say Shalom. And this is a outside lesson that I wanted to bring out St. Mark chapter 3, verse 24. That's going to be the title of the sit-down lesson, so hopefully this will be edifying. This is going to be a quick outside lesson of St. Mark chapter 3, verse 24. And this is the book of St. Mark. You have the gospel according to Mark. And this is the book of St. Mark, chapter 3, and verse 23. St. Mark, chapter 3, verse 24, I meant to say. It says, Salaki. Yep, St. Mark 3, verse 24. It says, red letter Yahweh Shai, speaking of St. Mark, chapter 3, verse 24, the gospel of Mark. This is St. Mark, chapter 3, verse 24. It says, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand. And this is what Yahweh Shai spoke about during his times. And this will be related to modern times. It says, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand. And that's what we're seeing, these kingdoms being divided against itself, which cannot stand. From a perspective, from an economical perspective, and especially that we've been seeing the division between the modern day kingdoms from an economic perspective, especially with these economical tariffs, that's only going to continue to increase. So as I mentioned once again, I did a sit-down lesson yesterday, I would say like yesterday night, because you had like the Dow Jones, they was down like 142 points. Because Donald Trump made that announcement about he's going to use economic sanctions, economic tariffs on the European Union. Because European Union, they're gonna like wait and see until the deadline of August the 1st to make a deal with the United States. Because Donald Trump, he came with a conclusion on an idea that he's going to use this 15 to 20, I would say like 15% to like 20 to 25% economic tariffs on the European Union, because you've been having divisions between the European Union and the United States. So you got the Edomites, the Europeans over there in Europe, which the Edomites, that's their biblical nationality, the Edomites. So you got the Edomite over here in the United States, the modern day kingdom of Edom over here in America, and then you got the kingdom of Edom over there in Europe. They're being divided, especially from an economic perspective, even though their relationship is kind of being rocky on and off. So these are just prime examples that we're going to be seeing modern day kingdoms being divided from an economic perspective. So you're going to have these economic wars, you're going to have these tariff wars between these modern day nations, especially the nation of Edom, Idumea, Ashash will be that way say. And this is especially these other economical tariffs that you're going to be seeing in these other nations that this current administration is going to use on these other nations, including their allies as well too. Just like China versus the United States. But these are two economical powerhouses. Even though they came to some type of trade agreement, but you're still going to have economical tension between these two economical powerhouses of China and the United States. So that's why it's going to be a kingdom which cannot stand. So you're going to have a kingdom within itself being divided. Then you're going to have a kingdom outside of another kingdom being divided against another kingdom. As these economical wars, these geopolitical wars, these economical wars, and these trade wars is only going to continue to increase, which we've been seeing, which we've been so used to seeing it been heating up, which have been taking place in ancient times. Now we're seeing it once again, modern times. Now it's heating up once again. I just want to add a side note to that. Just like I mentioned, like over there in Brazil, down there in South America, upper Brazil, you had the United States. They threatened to use 50% economic tariffs on the Brazilians, people down there in Brazil. And just like Canada and Mexico, they get hit with economic tariffs once again. So that shows this credible orange, this Edomite. He's kind of a reprobate, like it says in the book of James 1 verse 8. What's that book? It says James 1 verse 8. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So we're definitely going to have these modern-day nations being divided. These Edomite nations, these modern-day Edomite kingdoms and modern-day Edomite nations. And actual kingdoms being divided against one another. A kingdom within itself being divided, and outside of another kingdom being divided against another kingdom. That's what we're seeing on an everyday basis. And these are the signs that Yahweh Shai spoke about through so Yahweh Shai is speaking through Mark, the Gospels of Mark. Yeah, it's the book of St. Mark, chapter 3, Yep, St. Mark chapter 3 and verse 24. I'm going to read that once again, then I'm going to close it out. Yep, to the book of St. Mark chapter 3 and verse 24. Yep, it says, and if a kingdom be divided, itself the kingdom cannot stand. So we're going to see this more as the days progresses on. We're going to have modern day kingdoms being divided against modern day kingdoms. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and close it out of this quick outside lesson of the book of St. Mark chapter 3 verse 24. And that was the title of the sit down lesson. So hopefully this was edifying. And with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem, and Ba'Kadash. And the Heavenly Father, the true name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Ba'Hashem, in the name of Mashiach Kabashai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo-Hebrew, the last strong gospel tongue. Now I say Barak thumbs to the elders and elders, Wa'akim Wa'akra. Until next time, I will say Kwame Asherallah and Abba Shalom.